Okay, hello everyone, this is Mr. Munsey with Balancing Equations, the basics. Hopefully you have your Cornell notes out. If you don't, go ahead and get them out. Balancing equations is a lot of fun. It's a mathematical game. Might be a little bit hard at first, but you'll catch on really quick. Let's begin. Okay, you need to think about balancing equations like a seesaw. Your goal is to get them to balance equally. Okay, there's my equal sign. This is a seesaw. Both sides are equal. If you make one side way too big, we're no longer equal, and you get a big old ugly face that says no. Very ugly. Like my cousin. Moving on. Before we get to balancing equations, a few things you need to know. You already can identify an element, such as hydrogen here, H, but you might not be able to identify what on earth this big number is and this small number. Okay, we need to know what they are and be able to define them. The larger number right here, is the coefficient. The coefficient tells us how many of this element, or elements if it's compound, we have. We have 2 hydrogens. Okay, but we also have this smaller number, a subscript. This also acts a lot like the coefficient and tells us how many hydrogens we have. And in this case, we have H4, 4 hydrogens, but we have 2 of H4. So 2 of H4, that's 2 times 4. We actually have 8 hydrogens right here. That's really important to understand. If this coefficient was a 3, that would be 3 hydrogen 4s, which would mean 3 times 4, 12. If the subscript was 2, if we had H2, that would be 2 H2. We would have 4 total hydrogens. Okay? Make sure you understand and be able to use these. Coefficients travel through. Subscripts do not, and I'll kind of explain that in 1 second. Well, I'll explain it right now. So, for example, if we had 2 HCl, that would mean we have 2 hydrogens and 2 chlorides. Now, if by any chance we had something made up like 2H2Cl, that would mean we'd have 4 hydrogens, but we'd only have 2 Cl's because we don't have a subscript after the chlorine. Okay, so the subscripts only affect the current element, but the coefficients travel to both the hydrogen, chloride, and whatever else could be with it in the compound. Okay, here are the definitions. Make sure you get it. Pause the video at this time to write down the definitions. When you're ready, unpause and let's move on. Okay, so here we have a equation that we need to balance. And when you see this, you'll have the equation up top. This circled part you normally don't have. This is what you need to write down and make. Basically, I've just written down the elements underneath both sides, and I'm going to use it as a tool. So Na, Na, Cl, Cl, Na, Na, Cl, Cl. You'll notice that this Cl, this chlorine, has a subscript of 2, but no one else does. There's no coefficients written on these yet, and this is just because it's a very basic one. So we're making salt. That's the reaction that's taking place. So the first thing I need to do is take inventory of how much I have on both sides. So you'll notice no coefficient, no subscript of Na. So I only have one Na. But right here, I have no coefficient, but I do have a subscript of 2. So I have 2 chlorines. On the other side, I have no subscript, I have no coefficient. It's 1 Na and 1 Cl. Now looking at it, I can see that my NAs are equal. Okay, so far we're balanced. But my chlorines, I have 2 chlorine, but only 1 chlorine over here. So I'm not balanced. I need to change that. I need my chlorines to match up and my my sodiums to match up. And right now I only have sodiums matching up. Okay, so let's see. Looking at this, I realize that I can change, and here's where some rules come in. Okay, you cannot subtract. There's no such thing as subtraction when balancing equations. You cannot add subscripts. So the subscript that's here, right, that's there, that's great, but I can't put a 2 subscript behind Na, nor can I put 1 here under this Na or 1 under this Cl. I can only add coefficients. That's all I can do. Okay, that's the only thing you can change. Do not add subscripts, do not subtract, and we will be good. So looking at this, I realize that the only way, because I can't subtract from this side, I can only add to the chlorine. And so I'm going to put a 2 coefficient, because I can't put subscripts, remember that. I'm going to put a 2 right here, and that's going to mean that I have 2 Cl. So I'll cross that out, and I'll have 2 chlorines. Hey look, my chlorines match. I'm almost happy. But as some of you, or all of you, might have noticed, this 2 also affected the Na. So I'm actually going to have to turn this Na into a 2, because remember, coefficients will affect everything in the compound. Well, crud. That actually ruins everything, because now my CLs match up, but my NAs do not. This is normal. Get used to this. This is part of the game. So now I have to figure out how to balance it. Well, it's actually pretty easy. I'll just put a 2 coefficient here, because remember, no subscripts, and I can't, this 2, since it's independent, plus sign, all that, this 2 doesn't travel over. It's not, CL is not part of the compound right here. It's totally separate. So when I put the 2 here, that changes this sodium to a 2, and now I have a balanced equation. My NAs line up, my CLs line up, they're both equal, we're good to go. A couple questions you might be wondering is, do these numbers have to match? As in, you see that the chlorines and the sodiums actually both have 2, and over here 2. No, our chlorines have to be the same number, and our sodiums have to be the same numbers, but our chlorines don't have to be the same number as the sodiums. Just has to match across. Hopefully that makes sense. So for example, the NAs, if this was a different equation, for all I know, it could have been 3Na and 3Na over here, and this could have remained 2s. They don't have to match. Only the chlorines have to match each other, and the sodiums have to match each other. That is the basics of balancing equations. If you have any questions, rewatch the video or come ask the teacher any questions. We're always available for y'all. Otherwise, go ahead and move on to the next lesson, which deals with slightly harder balancing equations. Until then, this is Mr. Munsey signing off.